My name is Shauna, and I'm the founder of Effortless Launch, and I help women entrepreneurs who are overwhelmed with tech set up their courses, memberships, or coaching programs on Kajabi and Membervault. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your custom domain in Membervault, and I'm going to do it using Google Domains. Now, keep in mind, every host is different. So wherever your domain is hosted, they might be using different terminology, but you can kind of get the gist of what I'm doing and apply it to whatever host that you're using. Here is an example of a non-custom domain and a custom domain. So when I signed up for Membervault, this was the URL that was given to me. If I wanted people to get access to my courses on Membervault, then this is the link that they would go to. Now, if I were to share this with my audience, say I'm talking about it on Instagram and I didn't have the swipe up feature, I would have to say, go to shaunarenee.llc.vipmembervault.com. Now, who's going to remember that? Nobody. People may not be familiar with Membervault to even remember this web. I still forget what it is. Two terms that you want to keep in mind is subdomain and root domain. I have my other website, effortlesslaunch.com. The www is the subdomain. This part right here, effortlesslaunch.com, is the root domain. Same thing if I wanted to put courses. This could be courses, it could be portal. I don't have to use my original website because I want people to go to my website and get the information about what I do. You can use a website like this with www at the beginning, but if you already have a website set up with all your information, then you don't want to use the same URL. You want to create a new URL with a different subdomain. All right, step one, when you are in Membervault, this is what you're going to see. First of all, you already have to own the domain that you wish to use. And when you type in the information right here, you need to include the subdomain. So it might be www dot whatever your website is, or courses dot whatever your site is. You can't just put the root domain. The domain that I'm going to be using for the Google domain setup is igetitlaunch.com. www is the subdomain and igetitlaunch.com is the root domain. Now, I could also do something like this where I have courses.igetitlaunch.com. This would be the subdomain. This is the root domain. So let's move on to step one. So for this example, I am going to use www.igetitlaunch.com. Notice how I put the www in there. If I were to do courses.igetitlaunch.com, I would put courses here. I cannot do this. I can't do that. I have to have the subdomain included. I'm going to go ahead and continue to step two. If it accepts it and it works, then this will no longer be grayed out. Okay, so it worked. So I'm now on to step two and it's not grayed out anymore. And they have created the CNAME records that we're going to be adding into Google Domains. If it does not look like this, then you need to make sure that you input the URL correctly in step one. So step two is where people get tripped up. The reason why is depending on the host of your domain, you might not add all of this. You might only need to add up to the subdomain right there. That might be all that you need to copy and paste, but it just depends on who your host is. I know for Google domains, you only need to go up to the subdomain. Now, if this said courses.igetitlaunch.com, then it would go all the way up to courses. All right, so I'm now in Google Domains. igetitlaunch.com, I bought it in Google Domains. You might be using Namecheap, GoDaddy. There's all different types of hosts out there. When I'm in Google Domains, I'm going to go to the DNS records. That's over here on the left-hand side. Go to DNS. Anytime you have to add a CNAME record, a TXT record, an A record, anything like that is going to be in the DNS settings. So I'm going to go ahead and click on DNS. And here is where I'm going to add the information that Membervault is telling me I need to add. The host name, that's what it's called in Google Domains. It might be called something else somewhere else. But in Google Domains, it's the host name. This is where we're going to put this information. We are going to highlight all the way up to the subdomain, and we're going to stop. And we're going to either right click or double tap, depending on what you have, and we're going to click copy. Then we're going to go over to Google Domains in the host name, and we're going to hit paste. For the type, we need to choose CNAME. We're telling it that this is a CNAME record. Don't worry about this. Now we're going to go back and get the second piece of information that's called value. It's called value here, but in Google Domains, it's called data. So we are now going to take the whole thing in the value, including the period, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to copy it, and then we're going to go over to Google Domains, and we're going to paste it. And we're going to click save. Now notice when I saved it, what happened over here? It now shows the whole thing, right? It knows by whatever subdomain that we put in there what the rest is going to be. You're only pasting part of it, but it's still going to end up showing all of it when you click save. And we've input the whole thing here. And so now we need to go over and see if it's going to be okay over here in Membervault. Now, before I do that, they have a nice little link right here that can tell us whether or not it's working. So I am going to open this in a new tab, and we're going to see if it's working. Now, it might take a little bit of time for it to process. It may not happen automatically, but as we can see, it already has. It's showing this green check mark right here, so I know that it's good to go. So right here, the status says pending validation, and if I were to refresh this page, it should allow me to move on to step 3. If it doesn't, then you just need to wait a few more minutes. It should not take any longer than 30 minutes. It shouldn't even take that long. But like it says right here, if after 24 hours your domain has not been verified, then there might be an issue. So I'm going to refresh the page, and we're going to see if it worked. Okay, it worked, right? It says success. Now we're on to step 3. Step 3 is point your custom domain to Membervault. Now you're going to add a second CNAME record. This time, you're only going to choose the subdomain. You're going to add a new CNAME record just like we did before. And again, we're not copying the whole thing. We're only copying the subdomain. So we're going to copy, and then we're going to go over to Google Domains, and we're going to add a new record. So to add a new record, we're going to click on Manage Custom Records, and we are going to create a new record. So now, see how it already has it down here, igetitlaunch.com. So again, we know all we need is the subdomain. If I had courses.igetitlaunch.com, I would just put courses in there and nothing else. The type, again, it's a CNAME record. We're going to leave this alone. And then we are going to copy and paste this entire value right here, the whole thing. We're going to copy and paste this whole thing. So we're going to highlight the whole thing, click copy. This is the value, and we're going to add this again into data. This is what it says for Google Domains. It might say something else somewhere else. So I'm going to hit paste, and I'm going to save it. We have successfully added both CNAME records. Now, again, we need to make sure that it's working. It says pending validation, refresh page to update status. So let's go ahead and refresh the page and see if it's going to take what we just input. So I am going to go ahead and hit refresh. And it still says pending validation. This is going to take a few minutes for it to process. So we're just going to keep refreshing until it works. This process could take up to 24 hours. It normally should not take that long. If it's not changed within 30 minutes, I would probably say that there might be an issue. Still, go ahead and give it the full 24 hours. Just know that it normally does not take that long. And if we notice down here in step 4, it's grayed out and it's still saying must complete step 3 first. So we know that it's not ready to go yet. When it is ready to go, then this will say something different. All right, so now it's ready to go live. All I have to do at this point is go ahead and click go live. Everything would change. This would change to igetitlaunch.com. If for some reason you no longer want this domain, then you would need to reach out to Membervault via email to have them reset it for you. It would reset back to whatever your original Membervault URL was. This is always going to work. No matter what you change your custom domain to, the original URL will always work. You don't have to worry about, if somebody had those links before, they could still access your Membervault account. And then as we can see on step 3, it's showing that the status says success. So we know that we added the CNAMEs correctly. So chances are, if you've been struggling with this, it's probably because you're trying to copy and paste the whole thing and you only need to go up to the subdomain.